Hi, my name is Michael White, and in this video we're going to take a quick look at the Music Production Career Builder course. I designed this course specifically for music producers, engineers, songwriters, beat writers, DJs, and anybody who's looking to make a career in the music industry. I've spent the last 30 years making 100% of my living off of the music industry. During that time, I've worked with amazing artists. If you click on the Home tab and About Me, you'll get a page that looks something like this, which describes briefly who I am. There's a picture of me with Whitney Houston from back in the late 80s, and a quick biography of all the accomplishments that I've done, things that I've done, and a discography, including working as Whitney Houston's private engineer for about 15 years, working with the Talking Heads, Lisa Loeb, David Byrne, Three Doors Down, James Taylor, etc., etc. And you can see the whole list here on the website. The idea of this course was to go through all the things that I've learned over that course of time and pull it into a course that works in the modern music industry. I've divided this course up into 8 classes, like I do with all of the courses for my music production school. And I divided them up very carefully to teach lessons, valuable lessons about how you can take advantage of the crazy market that is out there. Very few people really know how to take advantage of the fact that we now live in a world where you can get clients from all over the world. When I started making music back in the mid-1980s, the only way that you could make a career in the music industry was to start working for a recording studio and work your way through professional studios to meet and make clients. Today, people can record from home. And even in the last 10 or 12, 15 years, people who were working primarily from home still had to bring people in and get clients from their local markets. And people were always limited to that. Well, over the last 5 or 6 years, what's really happened is that the internet has exploded to such a degree that you can basically get your market from all over the world. I personally get clients from all over the world. I get clients from Asia, including Singapore and China, India, Australia. I have clients who come to me from Africa, from Eastern Europe, from Europe with the Denmark, England, Ireland, Italy. I have clients from South America, Central America, Canada, and of course the United States, where I base my living. So in tapping into this market throughout the world, there's an incredible amount of work from people who are looking to have beats written, songs mixed, music mastered, and this is something that you can tap into, and that's the basis of this course. So this course will also work if you want to go through the more traditional methods of working up through recording studios. The basic ideas and tenets and things that I teach in this course will work and carry whatever avenue you decide to go. I start off the course in Class 1 by going through the music business basics. And in this, I start with a brief history of the music business. Not the music industry per se, but really the music business, where the money flows and how it's worked. Because if you don't understand how the business side of the music industry works, then you won't know where you fit into it. And I'm going to describe here also the modern music industry, how it's expanded tremendously and how you can tap into it. We will go over music business basics so that you understand what the guidelines are. So if you're a songwriter, understanding publishing and those types of rights is really important for you to move forward with your career properly. You also have to know where the money is coming from and where you fit in. Basically, in this industry, what we're really creating is a product. We're creating a product that goes out to market and it sells or it doesn't sell. If it sells, then you get money for your efforts. And if it doesn't, you basically don't get anything. So understanding where the money comes from, what people are looking for, and how you get it to them is one of the most important things to understand so that you know where you fit in. So in this place, you have to define yourself in this class. You have to figure out where you want to go. You may not have a very specific idea of where you want to fit in. Maybe you just know that you want to fit in, but you have to start someplace. Through the course of feeling out, meeting people, working with people, working on projects, you will find the things that you love to do in the music industry. Maybe it's producing artists, maybe it's songwriting, maybe it's beat writing, maybe it's engineering, mixing, mastering. Whatever it is that turns you on, you have to find your place in there so that you can build a plan that helps you to move forward and make a career in the industry. In class 2, we're going to talk about becoming an entrepreneur. And this is the most important thing because you have to lose the job mentality. If you don't understand what it is to be an entrepreneur and you maintain this idea of having a job and a regular paycheck, then it will be extremely difficult for you to break through out on your own and make it in the industry. You have to be all in, and that's kind of the purpose of this workshop, is getting you to understand that. In this second class, we will focus on how you get rid of this job mentality, how you change the way you think. And it's not as easy as you might expect, okay? There's a little bit more involved. There's a lot of programming that you need to get through. And it's something that bleeds out over time. And we'll talk about how you can continue to facilitate that process and change your mindset so that you can be successful in working in the music industry. So you'll learn how to become your own boss, how to create a business plan for what you want to do, and most importantly, how to believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself in order for things to move forward. Otherwise, you will give up along the way, and that's one of the main keys of that whole class. When we get to class 3, we're going to talk about getting started. So you need to start by making a career building plan. So you need to start by setting a direction, setting goals, and making action steps and things that you need to do to help to bring you there. The important thing is that it's a step-by-step process. It's not going to happen overnight, okay? There is no promise whatsoever in this course that you will instantly become a success after taking this course for 8 weeks. What you will get is the foundation for a plan that you can use, and if you stay consistent and steady with it over the course of time, what will happen is you will build your client base. You will establish yourself in the industry, and then you will bring in the work that you're looking for and do the things that you love to do. It's very important during this process that you continue to develop your skills. So most often what people only work on is their skills, assuming that it's the skills that people are going to attach to and find them somehow. And it doesn't really work that way. I've seen incredibly talented people get no work whatsoever because they don't understand the business side of the music industry. You must understand that, and you must set forth a plan that allows people to find you. If people can't find you, it doesn't matter how talented you are, no one will care. And here, what you want to realize is that there are opportunities everywhere. And this is a mentality that's really important to take. Sometimes that thing that really looks awful, that gig that falls through, that you really wanted, ends up being the biggest blessing. And out of that, what you'll realize is that sometimes bigger and better things come out of failures. So sometimes when you try something or you attempt to do something and it doesn't work out, it's just setting you up for a better situation. And it's important to really understand that, and important to learn from the things that you quote unquote fail from. You really never fail at anything, because no matter what, you're always going to learn something. In class 4, we're going to talk about techniques for finding clients. So once you actually get to this position where you've built your plan, you've decided what it is that you've loved to do, and you've worked on your skills and your techniques and getting all these things, now you need to establish yourself, put yourself out in the media. Now this is something that takes a while to establish. It's not something that's going to happen just because you post a Facebook page or a website page. This is something that you have to put a little bit of effort into it. And you only have to put a little bit of effort as long as you do it consistently. What will happen is over time you will start to build in traffic and presence and people who get to know what it is that you do. And as you do things, you need to be able to post those things, talk about it, show examples of what it is that you have to do, show before and afters. Get people to understand that this is not just some simple website that says who I am and what I've worked on, but it's something more dynamic than that. People want to feel like you're a very active participant in what it is that you're doing, and that's important. You need to also understand the psychology of sales and how you get to people into your website. Most people make the mistake of posting rates all over their website about what it is that they do, or when they post ads in Craigslist or in industry, local magazines, or on bulletin boards in their local area. What they find is that they don't get calls and they don't get feedback. And the real key thing that you have to understand is that you have to start the conversation with somebody. This is an important thing to learn. And once you start the conversation, then you can develop that conversation into talking about getting paid for the work that you do. But you have to start someplace. It may work out, it may not work out, but you have to start. And what this does is it also opens up the possibility and potential for meeting other people. Okay, so in order to establish yourself, whether it's locally or whether it's globally, you have to start a conversation. You have to have a dialogue with people. And if you don't have that dialogue, then the sales won't occur. And that's the real key. So this section is really focused on that, about finding clients and how you follow up on leads and understanding the psychology of getting people to understand what it is that you do and explain to them why your services are more valuable than the next person's services. In Class 5, we're going to talk about developing a client base. So you really learn how to network, how to maintain your clients. And this is not about begging for work. So one of the things I put here in capital letters, never beg for work. So when you contact people, what you're doing is you're establishing relationships. You're reaching out to people as friends and people who are doing something in common that they love. So sometimes just reaching out and talking to people, communicating with people with a simple message that says, hey, haven't heard from you a while, hope all is well, keep in touch. That type of thing may be enough to lead that person who just happened to meet somebody who was looking for a mix engineer and asking for a recommendation to call on you because you reached out. And so that simple, quick communication is a way of putting yourself out there and putting yourself in people's minds. And that's the real key here for developing a client base. It expands. You want your client base to expand and grow by word of mouth. You want recommendations. These are the most important things that you can get in order to establish a client base. Because when people are connected and they work with somebody that they trust, and then they are recommended, that's the best way that you can get. So obviously, if you have a close friend and associate and you're looking for a mastering engineer and you say to your friend, hey, do you know anybody good? It's like, oh yeah, I had this guy master my record. He's amazing. Obviously, you would take that person's recommendation because you trust them. So word of mouth is the most powerful thing. So you could build the most badass website. Nobody's going to care because they don't know you. And it's the personal connection that makes the difference between developing the client base or getting people who just click elsewhere. In Class 6, we're going to talk about building a reputation. And this really focuses on developing your skills and the importance of that, right? And having the mentality that you only and always deliver quality work, that you deliver it on time. So consistency is really the key. You have to be good at what you do, but you also have to deliver things in the time frame and be consistent. In other words, you want to establish a reputation where people say, when I call this person and I ask him to do a job, he can do it for me, get it done in the time frame that I ask him to done, and do quality work. And you can't get any better than that. So once you get through this, you have to make sure also that as you're doing your work, that you're getting credit for the work that you've done. Okay? And because you need to be able to use your work to get more work. One of the longest standing catch-22s in the music industry. And a catch-22 means that you need something to get something else, but you can't get the first thing. And so the biggest thing for me was establishing a discography, was getting my names on records that I had engineered on. And that was sometimes a difficult task because once I had that credit, that would allow me to parlay that into another credit. So in other words, if someone says, well, what have you worked on? You could say, oh, I've worked on X, Y, and Z. And they look at that, it's like, oh, I like all those things. Okay, I'm going to hire you. And then all of a sudden you get another credit. And then that allows you to snowball and build things up. So as you're working, it's important that you build a discography of things that you've done. If people who have never worked with you want to hear work that you've done, you need to be able to present them demos or a demo reel that shows the quality of work that you're capable of. And if they're into it and they're interested, then they will hire you based off of what you've done. And that's really critical to building a reputation. In Class 7, we're going to focus on money. And this is something that people really want to avoid, and it's something that is so critically important to being successful in the music industry. You cannot be afraid of money. You cannot be afraid of asking for money and getting paid for the work that you've done. There's this starving artist mentality, which runs rampant and really holds people back from making careers and being successful in the music industry. And this is one of the things that's really important to address and understand. You have to understand, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a person who is working for themselves, that you will, in this case, you will not always have this consistent flow of money. So you have to learn how to manage that money. You have to learn how to invest in yourself, which is the most important thing. So there is a certain amount of the money that you make that may go back into equipment, computers, software, plugins, and things that you need to do your job better. And there's a certain amount of it that you need to invest into your future so that you're actually building a base of 6 months worth of rent and bills down the line, so that if your work slows down, you have the money that covers your basic needs going forward. You need to understand how to manage your money, the importance of being a corporation, and whether it's a good time to be incorporated or whether you want to just start out as a doing business as or DBA. You also need to understand the legal aspect of things. So as you see here that I have Lawyers, Guns, and Money, which of course is a famous song, is really about understanding the legal side of what and how you protect yourself and how you kind of manage your assets. If you're a songwriter, you need to understand all of your publishing and your publishing rights and where you get money from and making sure that you're collecting your money. When you're making contracts with people and making deals, you need to understand and get people involved who know what they're doing. So don't assume that just because you read a book that you understand how to be a lawyer and draw up a contract. You need to work with professionals. It may cost you a little more money than you want in the beginning, but it will make you tons more money down the line, and that's really important to understand. In Class 8, we're going to talk about adapting to industry trends. So in Class 8, we're really going to understand the music industry cycle. Forever, and I learned this from the very beginning when I first started out, every engineer and producer would tell me that the music industry works in cycles. And back then they would say it would be about 6 years or so. And what would happen is the industry would go through cycles of really good years and then a down cycle, and then really good years and a down cycle. And it's really understanding how to ride the wave of that good run, when things are going really well, and then how to navigate and work during those times when the industry may be down. And so when you work and you understand this, you can have actually some of your best, most profitable time periods during that time when the industry is in a down cycle. And this is something that has happened to me many times before, where I realized it's like, wow, I'm looking around here, all the people that I know, the record companies are holding back their budgets, nobody's getting any work. And all of a sudden, after really putting some creative thought into it, I'm finding that I'm, establishing clients and making more money than I was during the upcycle. And this is really a part of learning how to put your creative energy into the business side of what you do. And this is really, really, really critically important. You have to understand that it's the consumer that leads the industry, and you need to be on top of what consumer trends are, technology trends, music trends. And this is important. And you have to think big in order to be big. So you have to understand that through all the different things that are going on and pulling together all of this information, that you have to be able to make it all come together and fit into what it is that you want to do. You have to be able to look at it and say, okay, these technological trends are happening, these music trends are happening, I like this, I like that, that's the direction I'm going to head toward, and I'm going to be the lead of what's going on instead of being behind what's going on. During the late 90s, when Napster sort of collapsed the music industry, which is a whole other topic, and I won't get into all of that here in this discussion, but what I wanted to point out is during that time, many of the recording studios I was working at closed down. The record companies were clamping down on all the budgets, and all the things that I was doing were kind of falling apart around me. And I realized that I had to change, and I looked at technology. And during that time, the technological capabilities for working on laptops and working with native-based computer systems, Pro Tools, right? The first native systems were coming out with the M boxes and all of that sort of stuff. Were really starting to come out, and I hopped on this trend, invested some money into some equipment, and I became the recording studio. And instead of going to professional recording studios to do my work, I was working with the artists directly in their apartments, in their condos, in their houses, and starting to make records that way. And being ahead of the curve, I was making more money than I had ever made when I was working on big record company budgets and professional recording studios, because I was the recording studio. So not only was I getting paid to be the engineer or the producer, I was also getting paid to be the studio and do all the work. And so, of course, after a while, people figure it out, and then the trend cycles around, and then other people start to flood in, and you have to find the next trend. And this is what you need to learn from this class. So it's one of the most important classes that you will need to take in terms of wrapping everything up and taking all the information that you've gotten from the previous 7 classes and pulling it all together so you can move forward in terms of developing your music production career. So the classes for this course begin May 1st, and so I hope you join in for the Music Production Career Builder course. I think it's something really special. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. I spent a lot of time and energy developing technical courses for mixing and mastering and music production and all the things. And finally, this is the one thing that wraps and pulls it all together, which is really the goal of the school. The goal of the school is to help people develop their music production careers, whatever it is that they want to do, not just to learn how to mix or master music, but to take that and make money and make a living off of it. That's the key. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you join in and take part in the Music Production Career Builder course. Thanks.